Hello everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Daniel and I'm a data and business intelligence analyst. Okay, so it's my first time doing this and I just want to use this opportunity to welcome you all to my YouTube channel. So today I'll be walking you guys through something a little bit personal, a little bit niche, one might say, and it's the issue of personal fitness. There's a saying that goes that health is wealth, right? But most of us don't really treat it that way until something happens that forces us to. Okay. So for me, that wasn't a big dramatic moment. It was just realizing that I wasn't paying attention to my own numbers. And the ironic thing here is, as a data analyst, it's funny how I am playing around with numbers of people's data, companies and all every day. But with the issues pertaining my own life, I've been doing nothing about it. So I embarked on this journey in January to track a lot of metrics that has to do with my own life. So in this video, which as I mentioned earlier, it's my first one, I want to show you guys something different, okay? So data analysis doesn't have to be boring, doesn't have to be just tables and formulas. It can be fun, it can be personal, and it can be impactful. It can help you understand yourself even better. So I built this fitness dashboard that tracks my weight, calories, and even sleep, and as well workouts. And I'll be walking you guys through how I use data to get a clearer picture of my health. No pressure, no perfection, just honest progress and the story behind the numbers. So if this is your first time, to subscribe to my channel, and I welcome you guys as we talk about data. All right, so guys, before we jump into the video, I need a couple of favors from you guys. First things first, before this video continues, I want you guys to quickly quickly share, and also subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications because that's going to help with the growth of the channel. Okay. Then even more importantly, I want you guys to drop the comments because that's also going to support me on what you liked about the video, what you want next, and also what you feel could be better. Okay. This is fairly new to me, and I would really appreciate the supports and also the feedbacks. Okay, so let's dive right in. So we have our dashboard here. It's a very simple dashboard, by the way. It has a couple of visuals, a couple of dynamic text, and also a slicer at the top, or in this case, the time frame. And this gives us the ability to filter by the month. Okay, to filter by the month. All right. So what we have here is we'll have the person's information, which is me. I have my name right there. You have the weight I started with in January 1st. My height, my age, and my gender. Okay, this is like your profile information. And you can see I will have a greeting, um, my name, your dream weight is 80 kg, which is our target. Our target is to lose, some kgs to drop from 115 to 80. We'll have to drop roughly 35 kilograms. Okay. And you know how difficult it can be in the real world. So we'll have a dynamic text and also progress bar here as well. That changes as well with the slicer, right? We have a monthly trend that shows the actual weights we've been weighing from January down to October, which is this month, and also the targeted, so what we're expecting to lose and what we actually lost. And you can see here that over time, the differences became greater, okay? And we'll have our current weights and the expected weights. Over to the right, we have our, the exercise trends. So the kind of exercise we do, the number of minutes on average we spend on them, and how effective they actually burn calories. This is a pivotal details to help us work out the right way. We have some key health-based KPIs like the average calorie burns per day, the average heartbeat rates after each hour exercises, the average daily steps per day, which our target is 10,000, and on average, how many hours we sleep. Okay. Then down at the bottom, we'll have our weekly activity trend. So the numbers of minutes worked out and also the calories burned. And finally, we'll have here our monthly summary. So in this case, it shows the latest month. So if no slicer was actually selected, or if all were selected, by default, it's going to show you October's, right, which is the latest month. And all of these values here are powered with DAX. That we'll have here, we can map, or we will be mapping to our profile. It could be LinkedIn, it could be Twitter. We also have our simple navigation bar where we can go to our analysis sheets and we can go to our data set from here. So before we tie all of this together, let's just take a look at the data, identify our KPIs, and get started. So right here we have our data sets, okay? It's a fairly standard data set. Let me zoom in a bit so that you all can see. So we'll have the dates right here. We'll have the dates. So if I quickly sort this from oldest to newest, you can see that it ranges from 1st of January 2025 down to the 31st of October 2025. And the beauty about this is that you can actually set some conditional formatting to aid, and then data validation to aid data entry. So this is reusable. You can add more data going forward. Okay, so it's a very practical use case. We'll have the day of the week. These fell on, right? We'll have the day number, which is the day of the week, as on Wednesday, gives us 3. We have the exercise type. So what's the type of exercise we do? We'll have the specific exercise, okay? The duration we spent that day working out, the calories burned, okay? Our actual weight, you can see where we started, and you can see where I'm at 98 kg, okay? We'll have the expected, right? So this is what we actually achieved. This is what we planned on achieving per month or per day or whatever, right? And then we'll have our heart rates, beats per minute. We'll have the total number of steps we took that day, the number of hours we slept, the intensity, and just personalized notes, okay? And then finally, we'll have our travel week. So if we traveled through, if we didn't travel, false. And then we'll have our illness. So were we ill on that day, were we not? Because these are factors that actually affect the rate we can actually exert ourselves, to physical activities. Okay. So this is a one pager, by the way, but you can extend this. We can extend this. This is tailored towards beginners. That's why I actually kept it very simple, but good enough and impactful enough to give us the overview. So looking at this, of course, the first thing, now that we've understood the data, the first thing now we'll be doing right here is to push this into a table. Okay, that's the first thing I'm going to do, and you do that by clicking Ctrl T and then Enter. So by pushing this into a table, it gives us access to the sort and filter panel, where we can easily go through our data from a bird's eye view to make sure that there are no inconsistency. So if there's any dirt that is on there, we can actually clean it up. Okay, and you can see so far it's a relatively clean data, by the way. We'll be talking about data cleaning in another video when I kick off the data analysis bootcamp on my channel. It's going to be a playlist. So you can just easily see the trend, the numbers on there. You can see, right? I've checked this out before. I know there are no problems here. Because of time, I'll just skip to the ending. So we've quickly investigated to make sure that everything is fine and well. Okay. So the next thing I will do is to insert this into a pivot table. But pay very close attention when pushing this into a pivot table. Make sure that you add this data to the data model. Okay. Make sure that this is ticked. Why? I will show you, because it gives you the ability to trigger power pivots. That gives you the ability to a lot more functionalities on your pivot table. Okay, example, it gives you the ability to write DAX measures. It gives you the ability to even create models if you want. So make sure this is done. Then you hit OK. You hit OK. So this right here is our pivot table. So I'm inclined to believe everyone here knows um everyone here knows what pivot tables are. If you don't, well, a video on that will be coming out. So the first thing I'll do here is just our KPIs. So what are we tracking? What are the main KPIs we'll be tracking? We'll be writing those measures real quick. Okay, we'll be writing those measures real quick. So we need to write all the DAX measures we need on here, set up our pivot tables. Then we'll go over to the wireframing session, and then we'll go over to tying everything together into our dashboard. Okay, so let me pull up the other one. Let me just pick from there. It's actually going to help us move faster. I'm going to move it to my other screen, by the way, so you guys won't see it. So one of the things we need to understand here, we need to find out, okay, a couple of things. One being, let's find out on average, right? On average, how many calories burnt? On average, how many calories burnt? It's very simple. What I need to do is just to drag in fact, I'll just drag all of these things in. I'll drag in duration, minutes. I'll drag in calories burnt as well, right? I'll drag in calories burnt right here. Can also drag in, we can write DAX measures for this, by the way, but I will keep it as simple as I possibly can. We're going to write some, but these ones here are pretty much. So these are some of the first sets of KPIs. We'll be putting everything on one pivot table so that the number of tables needed for these refreshes will be less, hence reducing the workload. So for this, we'll be changing this to average. We'll also be changing this to average as well, because we want to find out steps average. Average. Make sure all of this are down to just 2 decimal places as the sweet spots. So I'm going to zoom in. These are first sets of KPIs right here. The first set of KPIs right here. So the next set of KPIs I'll be writing is, so we want to know our current weight, right? We want to know our current weight because that's one of the most important KPIs needed. So what I need to do is to right click. What I need to do is to right click, add measure. We'll call this current weight. We'll call this current weight. I'm going to paste the measure and then I'm going to explain how it works. Okay. So we'll have something like this here. Let me zoom in a bit. So there are a lot of ways you can calculate this, by the way. So all I did here was to assign a variable called the latest dates because we want to find the latest dates of our dates in the data sets. So you can see, how do we do that? We use the max, right? We use the max of our table name. In this case, mine is table 2. So that's table 2 right there. So table 2 of the dates column. Remember, we have our dates column right there. And what we want to do, we want to return, right? We want to return because we want to use this variable here to return something. So basically, all I did was to use the calculate function. It gives us the ability to alter the filter context of what we're trying to do, right? We return the max of our actual weights in kg. Okay, actual weights in kg. And what are we filtering? We want to run this calculation by the latest dates. So we're checking to say, okay, fine, look at our table, right? Look at our table and make sure that the column you're returning is the same with the latest dates in our calculation. So you can just check and can see that the formula works. Okay, so we'll have that there. I'm just going to quickly duplicate this this right here. I'm going to quickly duplicate this right there. And then we'll take everything out. So DAX measures are actually better for, analysis. So you can see the current weight. We're currently weighing at 98 kilograms right here. Okay, currently weighing at 98 kilograms right here. So we also need to get our targets, right? We also need to get our targeted weights. So what's the targeted weights? Is just what we're hoping to achieve, right? I'm just going to copy this. We'll tweak it a bit. New measure. We'll call this weight targets. Weight targets, and I'll paste it here. You need to learn how to reuse measures. Okay. And then the other thing I would change here is we change this from actual. Change this from actual to I think there's a column called expected. So expected weights. Okay. Check if everything works, and then you hit OK as well. Let's drag this in so you can see, right? So this was what we were expecting to be at, and this is where we're currently at the moment. Okay. Okay. So now, the next thing we're going to do here is to create our text, right? Is to create our text. So how do we do that? We're going to use the text function to apply the kg to this. If we want, right? If we want, we can do that. But we'll not be doing that. I'm going to use a function called let to create our first dynamic bar. Okay, our first dynamic bar. So I'm going to I'll be down here. Let's paste this. Okay, I'm going to paste this and I'm going to reference this. Right? I'm going to reference this. Now, this let function gives us the ability to assign, a start point and an end point in this case, because I have to do this way because, we're counting a progress, but the progress here is our current weight is larger than our target. So we're going down. So as the weight is going down, we want to fill up our bar to take us to the goal we are actually trying to meet up with. You get? So in order for us to do that, we have to use this let function to start, right? So we say, okay, fine. Open bracket. Let's start. What's our start weight? 115, which is what we started with. What's our target? Our target is 80. That's where we want to stop. Then, what is the current weight? The current weight is this, our current weight right here, comma. So the next variable we're assigning is going to be progress. So what's the progress? The progress is the max, right? The max of just passing this value. We'll have 0 here, comma. So that's the first number. Our second number will be the minimum, right, of this. Then the stats minus current, which we've assigned the variables to, divided by the stats and the targets. I don't want to go in depth into this because that would take much of our time, but you can just copy this and you can do more research later. And then for us to create another variable, again, the field, we want to round up this progress, multiply by 10, 0. And for the empty, which is our last variable, we want to use the 10 because we want 10 balls minus the field. Then, of course, we have to use our rep function here, which repeats whatever you pass in here by the number of times you want it to. So it's okay, fine. Repeat this dark circle, which you can get, by the way, either online or from your clipboard. Okay, repeat that dark circle by the number of times it was filled and the number of times it was empty. And by the time I hit enter, consider we'll have our progress bar right here. So that will have our progress bar right there. So the second thing we'll be creating here as well, we also need our dynamic text. Okay, we need our dynamic text to help us have a little bit of context. to what we're doing. So help us have a little bit of a context to what we are doing. So this is fairly straightforward as well. We'll be using the if function right here. Okay, we'll be using the if function right here. So I'm just reference the right cell, which by the way is your current weight. So what does the if function do? Basically, I said I was okay, fine. Please use is a nested if. You can use your switch, you can use your ifs. It doesn't really matter. Each of them work. Okay. Now we'll say if A9, which is our current weight, if it's greater than 80, then what do we want to return? We want to return your ampersand, the difference, right? The difference between the current and the targets, kg, away from your weight loss goals, comma. But if this is less than, right? This is less than, we'll do the same thing and we can say from reaching your goals, you've hit your goal, nice one. So if you've not gotten to that weight, this thing, we want to return this. If we've gotten to it, we want to return this. Okay? We want to return this. And then let's just quickly close the bracket and boom, you can see it right there. Okay? You can see it right there. So the next thing we'll be doing right here, I'm trying to be slow so that we can actually have, I won't be writing most of the DAX, by the way. I will just copy and paste because I already have them. And then I'm going to explain what they do. Okay, for me to go in depth into this DAX calculations, we'll do that in a later video. So let's add some of the measures we need. We need more, by the way. We need more. So basically what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to get, let me zoom in. So I want you to look at this. Of course, this has to be 2, because that's the name of my table. It doesn't have to be exactly, make sure it aligns with what you have on there. Okay. What else? So this here will be our current, right? Current month weight. This right here will be our current month weight. So let me see, what am I missing here? The formula is invalid or incomplete. Calculate error, table 2 cannot be determined. Initial weights. That we had. Okay. So then quickly just cross-check something. Of course, we have our current weights. Okay, our initial weights. Our initial weights, we can change this in here. We can add code it, by the way. We can add code it to, our initial weight was 118. Okay, we can add code it there, and let's check. And we are good to go. Okay, we're good to go. Sorry. This measure here is for average, right? Average weights lost per month. This is another very good KPI you can track. Another very good KPI you can track. So for the initial weight, if you want to create a dedicated measure for that, or to create the initial weight, a dedicated measure for that, we can also do that as well. Let's just do that real quick. If you don't want to hard code, that we can use this multiple times. Again, I believe everybody understands how some of these functions work. If you don't, just copy and paste. When I create the tutorials that will cover all of these things, when we get to this, you'll have full knowledge, because if I decide to explain what every function does here, it will actually be a problem. Okay, it will actually be a problem. So by the way, what this does, let me just give you a rundown. This right here returns the earliest dates from, right? From where it calculates. And this table, this filter is used to return a table, right? It's used to filter out the table. And how do we want to get that table of values? Is basically the all, which returns everything without no filters. And we want to make sure that our table date is equal to the minimum, which is the first dates of our table. Okay, in a nutshell, that's what that does. That's what that does. I'm just changing all of this from 1 to 2. So you can see the measure right there. If you don't understand, you can copy and paste, and you can always push it to ChatGPT to give you a very good definition of what's going on. Because, like I mentioned, it's going to take hours upon hours if I decide to explain every single measure that I wrote here. We'll be writing more. So what's going to be our targets? Our target weight is just very simple. Our target weight is just equal to 80. That's 80 kilograms we want to end up at, which is a fair weight, by the way. What do you guys think? Comment in the comment section what you think is the ideal weight for a full-grown male Nigerian adult. Okay. What next? We also need some other measures, right? We want to get our total workouts this month, right? Our total workouts this month. We want to find out. So that when we start using our sliders in the monthly summary, we want to find out the number of workouts we did that month. So this will be total workouts this month. And then again, you can see that the calculator is the center of all of this. I will zoom it in. So it's very simple. It's a very simple formula. You can see the very simple formula. All we are doing here is we want to alter something. What are we wondering? We want to count the rows of our data. We want to count the rows of our table, right? But we want to filter. We want to make sure that we are only counting these rows of our table where the rows is not equal to rest. Because if you're resting on that day, you're not working out. Then finally, we want to add another filter. It must be dates, months to date. So this is a time intelligence that helps you calculate the months to date. Okay, you can see here, no errors. We'll do that. We'll do that right there. We'll also find out how many calories did we burn that month. How many calories did we burn that month? I want to write out all the DAX measures we need so that when we get to the actual analysis, it won't be a problem. Again, similar use of the calculate function. This time around, we are summing the calories burned. And we want to filter by the month to date. So this would be, what title are we giving this? Total calories this month. Total calories this month. And we'll commit that. The next one I want to find out is, okay, how many hours did we actually work out this month? How many hours did we actually work out this month? Again, I'm just paste this in here because of time so that you guys don't get bored. So basically what we're doing, we want to divide, right? We want to divide the sum of the duration, right? We want to divide the sum of the duration of the month we work by 60, right? Because 60 minutes gives us an hour and it was recorded in minutes. So by the time we do this, it's going to give us an output in hours. That's basically what this does. Again, you can see the DAX measure right there. Make sure when you're referencing yours, the name of your table tallies with what you have right here, your power pivot. So this is total times this month in hours. We can just fact check this to make sure it's working, and it's working quite good. What next? I want to also find out how many days we worked out this month. So it's the same thing. Okay, it's the same thing here. So please, we will literally the same thing. If I zoom in, you'll see right there. It's literally the same thing. I'm showing you guys so that you can pause, you can take a screenshot to get the DAX measure. It's literally the same thing like we did before. I'm just swapping out the column I am using for this calculation. Okay, I'm just swapping out the column here I'm using for this calculation. So I want to find out how many days we actually worked out. So let's call this active days. Active days. Days. This month. Let's check if everything is working. We are good to go. We'll have to write three to four more measures, and then we can go ahead with our analysis. So I want to find out the most common intensity. So which intensity did we do the most? Most common intensity. Most common intensity. Most common intensity. All right, so let's look at this one. It's a little bit long, and people that are familiar with DAX should know what's going on, but I'll just try to give you guys a 10 seconds evaluation. So right here, make sure again, I'm just copying and pasting this here. It doesn't really matter if I write or I copy and paste. But if I'll be writing, it's going to take a whole lot longer. So I'll just paste and I'll explain. So looking at this, we want to create a table, right? To create a table. What's the table? We give it a variable called intensity table, and we want to add columns. So we want to add in that column. We want to add the intensity column, right? You can see it right here. Intensity. We want to add that column from our data, and then we want to count, right? We want to count the total numbers of this. Then from this table, right? From this table, we want to now get the max count by using the max x, which is an iterator function that runs the max over the table we created here. You understand? Right? To give us the total max of it. And then we just want to return that max value. So this is how the whole thing works. Again, I'm keeping it there so that you can pause and you can write. Make sure again you're referencing in your right table to know that we're referencing our data set. Okay, so we'll have that. We need to have what next? We need to have three more. So our goal completion for the month, goal completion percent, goal completion percent, our goal completion percent. Again, I'll paste this right here and let's zoom in again into it. So all our goal completion, we want to make sure that we work out every weekday. So on average, that will give us 20 days. So we've assigned that to a variable. And then we want to return the total number of workouts we had that month, which we've done, divided, right, by that monthly goal. That's it. That's basically it. Okay. And then I want to find out the weight loss this month. So the current month we're in, weight lost this month. You guys know the usual. I'll paste this in. And then I'm just zoom in so you guys can see. Always kick off your calculations with your equal to sign. So I want to get the month stats, right? The month stats, which we've done here. We've written this before. Just the minimum of our of the month, which is the month to date, and then the maximum. It's just the same thing. The difference is that this is max, this is min of our month to date. Okay, and then we just want to return the month start versus the month end. Shaking up. That's it. That's it. This is going to give us a deficit. If you want it to be positive, just switch this and you're good to go. Of course, I have to change all of these things to change that to 2, or else 2, and finally 2, table 2, because that's the name of our table. And good. And then our congratulatory message at the ending. That's the last that we'll be writing. So we can just call this anything. Quick message at the ending. We'll be using existing functions we've written before. Okay, we're using existing functions we've written before. So just hooray, you lost the amount of weight you've lost that month and the kg assigned to it this month. Just we formatted the difference left to go from the current weight to our target weight. So it's fairly straightforward. By the way, all of those measures I'll be providing for you guys with the resources in the description of the videos below. So let's check that real quick. And that's it. Cool. That's it. So I'll quickly duplicate this, Ctrl C, we'll paste it here, and let's just pull in all of those measures. Let's just pull them in. You can see all of them right there. I know the analysis page is a little bit scattered, but it's needed. It's needed, okay? So you can see all of the measures we've written right here. Fantastic. Fantastic. Now, what's the next thing we'll be doing here? We will be creating the rest of the merge of the pivot tables we need for this analysis. I think it's just going to be 2 more. If I'm not mistaken, it's going to be 2 more or 3. 3 more. We'll have one for the monthly trend. We'll need one for the exercise. We'll need one for the weekly trend. And then that's basically it. Just those 3. That's basically it. Okay, so we'll be creating that right now. All right. So let's carry on with the creation of those measures. I'm just going to quickly pick this up because this is what we're using. I will paste this down here. All right, so let's quickly get our. I think what we're needing here is the current weights and the target weights by month. So I want to find out over the months how we've been losing weight and how that basically works, across the months. All I need to do is just to drag this date. That's one of the beauty of Power Pivots, and I drop it here. Automatically, Excel is going to split this thing for us. Can you see? Excel is going to split this for us, and then I can take this out. And we'll have our date, month right there. Next thing I need to do here is to go to pivot table options, and I want to turn off the grand totals for rows and columns. Okay, so this is our weight loss trend. Okay, what's the next one we need right here? Ctrl C, and just paste it underneath. I also want to find out which spots. So if I take this out and I drag in the spots, we used, if I'm not mistaken, it should be specific exercise. We're going to put it here. And then I want to find out on average how many minutes we spend and on average the calorie we lose or we burn. So all I need to do is to drag in this and drag in the calories burned. We'll change this to average, and we'll call this average duration. Right, duration in minutes. And we'll also double click on this and change this to average as well. And this will be our average calories burnt. And we'll have our second, we'll have our second one right there. And then finally for the third, we want to find out which day of the week work out the most and which day of the week will burn the most calories on average. Very simple. What I need to do is to copy this, we'll paste here, and I'll just swap this out with that day of the week right here. But we'll have a problem. This isn't sorted, so we'll have to manually sort this. Okay. I need to do is to come here, make sure that you have those four arrows right there. Then you take that to Monday. We'll have our Tuesday. Of course, you can sort from largest to smallest if you want, but I just want it to be in a weekly based way. It's down to personal choice. You do whatever works for you. So we're going to quickly do that. We'll have our Wednesday, we'll have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I think for now, these are all of this thing is long and it's just funny, but our main thing here is the presentation rather than our actual worksheets. This can be crazy. All right, so I'm going to move this to the right. We'll call this our data by double clicking. We'll call this our analysis, right? And then we'll create a new sheet and we'll call this our dashboard, data visualization, whatever. I'll just call it dashboard. All right, so the first thing we'll be doing here on this dashboard is to go to view. We'll be building our wireframe right now. We'll go to view. We turn off the grid lines. If you want, turn off the headers. And we're going to be left with this blank canvas. So this is what we use for our dashboard. Now, you can see this dashboard right here. It looks nice, it looks good, it's beautiful. But the truth of the matter is I didn't come up with this idea all on my own. Let me show you the referenced design I used. So all I did was to go on Kaggle, and I just, not Kaggle, you can use Dribble, you can use Pinterest. There are a lot of UI and UX designers online that actually, are good at what they do, at least better than we, because we are data analysts. We are not UI UX personnel. So I saw this and I liked it. And there are lot more. You can go online, right? You can go online. Let me see. Okay, wrong page. Still another wrong page. Sorry about that. Where did I keep that? Okay. So you can just go on Pinterest. You can go on Drivel if you want to gain inspiration. There are a lot of fantastic designs online you can pick up. Just go online, search for dashboard, HR, whatever you want to do, and you'll see a buttload of visuals. You can see the one I used, you can pick from. It just gives you that, bridge between aesthetics and functionality so that you don't have to overthink it. So there are a lot of designs you can pick from right here. And I decided to settle for that. Also, the icons we'll be using, you can pick them up from either icon 8, you can see. You can pick them up from either icon 8, or you can use flat icons to pick up images. I use flat icons for the images I used for this dashboard. You can see the logo. I just customized it, flat icons. And you can use, all of these links will be provided in the comments, or not comments per se, rather the descriptions. You can use flat icons as well. So these are the websites you can use to pick up the icons we'll be using. All right. So this was the inspo I got. I loved it and I used it for my dashboard with a little bit of a tweak. All right. So the first thing I'll be doing is I'm going to create an overlay. I'll be inserting a shape. Let's keep this squared. Okay. Make sure it covers everywhere, right? Make sure it covers everywhere, because this is our background right here. And because of time, I already chose the colors I wanted to use. So from the other dashboard, I'll just pick the color codes. Okay. I'll just pick the color codes. Format shape. We'll go to fill. I'll be using that color code right here. And then I don't want any line. Just leave it as it is. It's quite nice. The next thing I'll be doing is I'm going to insert this, right? This shape right here. we're going to insert this shape right here. And this one, because layering is another fantastic way of creating, you know, the feel and the vibe of it. So this is going to be white. Okay, remember my own dashboard is built on a very large screen. That's why you see a lot of spaces around it. But if you're using a smaller screen, I'm building straight from a very big monitor, you probably fit in perfectly. But make sure, number one, you have breathing room around. And number two, it's set to make sure you don't have to scroll either to the left or to the right or up and down to see everything you're building. Okay. I already have the dimensions. I'll just use that dimensions so that I won't guess because of time. So what's this? This dimension is 11.38 for the height, 11.38, and 18.42 for the width. 18.42 for the width. Make sure it's in and around the center. Okay, make sure it's in and around the center if you have extra space. And just come to this tiny yellow bob right there to make sure you adjust the curvature. Okay, so this is going to serve as our base. I will duplicate this as well, and I'm going to increase that coverage as much as I possibly can, because this will serve as our navigation bar. So it's going to be right here, and all I need to do is just keep it at any, but make sure what you want to align to is either higher or lower, but in this case, a higher. I will mark this two. I will align. This time around, I'll align to the top. And just like that, we have our navigation right there. Maybe I can shift this a little bit. Okay. I'll be duplicating this as well. And this time around, we'll be using a different color, which is the second layer. So let me quickly grab that code real quick. The color code real quick. We'll go to format shape. And this time around, we'll be using that color. We'll be using that color code. All right, cool. Now I will just have to get the dimension so that I don't keep on guessing because it took a while. So that would be 5.3, 18.13. 5.3, 18.13. So the height was 5.3. The width was 18.13. Think I selected it wrong. 5.3. 18.13. All right. So let's look at that real quick. Here, you need to make sure everything is blended in quite nicely. You can increase the curvature of this to have a better flow with the outer layer as well. Okay, that looks good. Looks good. We can just move this maybe a little bit to make sure everything works. All right, cool. The next layer we'll be creating here will be made up of two. Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. This here will be having kind of like a gradient, right? It's going to have kind of like a gradient. But before that, let's get the shape. So this is 3.98, 9.53, 3.98, 3.98, 9.85, 3.98, 9.85. 9.85. So please, these dimensions are purely different. Okay, it's just depending on the screen you're working with. Okay, and I'll be changing this to a gradient finish. So for the first one here, I already picked the color for us because I've built something like this before. It's going to be also feel free to experiment with different colors. And also, when you're done, you can tag my socials when you post them online. So we have these two colors here. Color number 1 will be the lighter shade. Just want something. And color number 2 will be a darker shade. Just a very light gradient. A very light gradient on the, okay. This is no, Ctrl Z. And this is color number 2. All right, cool. So we'll have something like this. I'll just pick this up and I'll drop it right here. Right here. I'll duplicate this and I'll quickly get the dimensions of the second one, which is 3.98, same height. The width is 7.69. So this is 7.69. So I'll just mark the 2 and I'll align to the bottom. Perfect. And then I can move this in a little bit just to make sure both sides are cool. And then for this, our color, it's going to be, I don't know the color of, I don't know, it's a lighter shade of navy blue. I don't know the color, but you're going to have like a different texture to this. So we'll change this back to solid. And then we will use this color right there. So you can see how it's looking like. Really nice. Real nice. Cool. Next thing I'll do is I'll duplicate this. Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Make sure it is aligned properly. We'll bring this down. Okay. Ctrl C, Ctrl V. We'll format this. We want a line, right? We want a line. We don't want the fill. And we want that line to be something like this. Just to have like a nice clean border around it. Okay. If that line is too, if the line is too, there's something wrong here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this to the front. I'm just going to bring to the front so that I can have access to it. So let's pull this back in because I wasn't able to select. I wasn't able to select. Cool. So I'm going to send behind since that didn't work. Not send backwards. Sorry. Ctrl Z. What's happening here? One sec. I thought I brought this to the front. Bring to front. Okay, let's give it a solid feel of white. Maybe that will help. So that I can, okay, fantastic. Fantastic. And then I'll have to undo all of these things I did before because I need to maintain. Okay, white, cool. Yeah. So, okay, I think we're good to go. Then we can reduce this a little bit, the curvature. And finally, I want this to be 1.5 and if possible, slightly lighter. Okay, I'll duplicate this. And let me just get the actual dimensions so that I don't guess. Okay, we need to set this wireframes up. What are the dimensions? The dimensions are 3.43, 10.15. 3.43, 10.15. All right, so let's quickly fix that up real quick. Okay. All right. So looking at this, you can see here that I've done that. Although I did it off camera, but it's the same dimensions. All I need to do is just mark this, and then I'll align to the button. There we go. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to need 4 boxes. We're going to need 4 boxes. I'll quickly get those dimensions as well. They are 1.7 and 2.34 for me. 1.7, 1.7, 2.34. So there we go. So we'll have them right here. Make sure they're aligned. Control CV. It duplicates. Don't worry about it. It duplicates. You duplicates. Okay. You take this to the right hand side. Take this to the right hand side. You mark all 4. You align to the bottom. And then you distribute vertically or horizontally in this case to have the perfect shapes right there. All right, so what next? Okay, our wireframe is coming along quite nice. I'll duplicate this CV. We need it right here. Duplicate. We'll duplicate this. Duplicate this. Roughly somewhere around this should be good. We'll have this, and then we'll increase the transparency. Right? Increase the transparency. I'm going to insert an image, which you can get from those websites I provided for you guys, by the way. Let me see, where are you? Okay, there we go. I'll be inserting this. We're going to shrink it down. And it's going to be right here. I'll make it slightly bigger if you want. Right there. All right, cool. What's the next thing we need? We need some circles. I'm going to insert a circle. And this is going to be let me get the dimensions real quick. 0.3. All right, 0.3. 0.3. 0.3. To make sure it's a perfect circle. To make sure it is a perfect circle. We'll bring it right here. Bring that right here. Let's turn off the line. Duplicates. Just leave it anywhere. Okay, doesn't really matter. Duplicates. Duplicates. Then mark all 4. Mark all 4. You align. Align to the top. Right? You align to the top. What else do we need? I'm going to insert some other pictures I got online. So we'll be needing this. We'll be needing that. We'll be needing that. We'll be needing this. 1, 2. All right. So we'll be needing this. we will be needing, I'm looking for that GIF. Okay. So it's this, 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 and this, if I'm not mistaken, for now. And let's just insert all of this. All right, fantastic. You can see the GIF right there, it's playing. So the next thing I'll be doing here is we'll shrink this down. Or all of this will be loaded as one picture. We're going to take a screenshot when we're done. So this right here is going to serve like a logo. It's going to serve as a logo. We'll have this here. We'll have our heart rates here. Let me also shrink this as well. Okay. See, everything is coming along well. Everything is coming along well. All right. So let us leave this here for now. We'll come back to that. I'll quickly insert the text box right here. We'll be inserting a text box. So this will serve as a greeting. Hello. Hello, Daniel. The wireframing is taking, we're going to take majority of our time. We don't want any line, we don't want any fill. And then we want to use bold. Let's say 12.4. 12.4, and the color should be this. Can extend this. So we'll have you right here. And then we can shrink this to match. Okay, can shrink this to match. A little bit big, but you can adjust it for. Okay. And then I'm just going to quickly duplicate this. Just going to quickly duplicate this. And then right here we'll have our weights. Right? Weights. Heights. Age. Gender. Gender. Okay. There are multiple ways you can do this, but this is one of the fastest. Then you use your space. Use your space bar to demarcate them. Okay? You use your space bar to demarcate them. It duplicates. It duplicates and you do the same thing here as well for the weights. This was the weight you registered when we started off, which in my case, I can hard code 115. There you add your height, your age, and your gender. So this is basically how you do it. I'll just copy and paste what I had done initially. Okay. What I had done initially. All right. You can see it's basically the same thing. It's basically the same thing. I'll just copy this and I'll put it right. I'll put it right here. Then I'll quickly insert. I'm going to quickly insert my image, my picture. So whatever picture of your choice. I think mine is at the bottom. It has it right there, the circular image of yours. And then you can resize, right? You can resize your image. Again, because of time, I already have the resized image. So I'll just duplicate and paste it right here. If you want, you can add a shape behind it with a darker ring around. Okay. And then what else? You just duplicate. To duplicate, and here I will say my name into Daniel, which is my name, right? Which is my name. Into Daniel, your dream weight, comma, your dream weight, it is 80 kg, right? So this is like out of the welcome message. For the 80 kg, you can make this slightly bigger, and you can use a lighter color just to draw attention to it. All right, so that's what you should do. I will just again copy what I had before because of time, because I don't want to get the exact same. I want to get the exact same dimensions. So you can see right there. This one doesn't change, right? This doesn't change. It's like a message. So what next? What next? So what I'll do is I'll quickly insert, right? I will insert a page, this. I will go to view and we'll turn on our formula bar, okay? We'll turn on that formula bar. And in here, instead of me to hard code this, I'll come here using the equal to sign. I'm going to reference this cell right there, right? I'm going to reference the cell right there. I'll duplicate, and I'll reference. Of course, I could use concatenate here to just tie everything together. You get. So first is first, we don't want any line. We don't want any field. Okay. For that, we'll change that to 16. I'll change this to 16. I'll change this to 16. Change this to 16, and I'll use a color, which you can see here. It's right there, BBD 940. Forgive us this nice color right here, and I'll put it underneath here, and I'll just enlarge, sorry. Just make sure everything is aligned properly. Okay, everything is aligned properly. And then we can change to that same color as well. If you want to increase a little bit, you can. Let's make sure everything is aligned properly. What next? What next? I'll duplicate this because we'll be using this right here. And let's just leave this to here for now. All right, so we'll have our KPI card is coming along really nicely. So what next? I will, let's just duplicate this CV, and this will be the monthly weight loss trend, right? So going to be our monthly weight loss trend. We have this right there. I'll duplicate, and I'll bring this here. And we'll call this, let me quickly confirm, calories, daily calories, oh shoot, sorry, daily calories bonds. Daily calories bonds. Let's just mark this, take this down a notch to 10 and change this to this. Okay, so you duplicate this, you put it here, you duplicate this, you put it here, duplicate it, and you put it here. But because of time, I'll just, again, just like I did before, I'll just copy and paste. Okay, I'll just copy and paste because I already have all the titles right there. Right there. So just a second. So Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Let's just pull this up. I think we should have them right about here. Right? Fantastic. What next? We can adjust the width of this. Same with this, just make it better, make it bigger. And then same thing here. So we're changing these colors to match this. We're changing the colors to match the aesthetics. Okay, so for this, I think we already have that color right there. It's going to be this. For this, it's going to be this. For this, let me quickly grab that code. Let me quickly grab that code. One sec. Quickly grab the code. So that'll be for this. We'll change that to that color code, and then we'll grab the fourth one as well. We'll grab the fourth one as well. I'll quickly paste it right here. The color code. Paste it right there, and we're good to go. I think I'll have to pick up the pace a little bit. All right. So secondly, the next thing I'll be doing is I'll just quickly pick this up, and I'm going to reference what we need. So the first thing we need there is the total calories bonds, which, by the way, so on average, the calories were burnt, which is right there. We'll reference this, that's 329. I'll duplicate, I'll reference the next one. I'll reference the next one, which is the average heartbeats. It's not here. That's weird. Okay, let's do this. The steps. Let's do the steps. Let's quickly add the heartbeats. I thought we had it on there. Okay. I'll just quickly drag it in. The heartbeats here. Change that to average. Average heartbeats. So we'll be referencing that as well. We'll be referencing that. This, and finally the sleep hours. Go to your analysis and we'll have that. Just like we did before, you arrange them. Make sure they are small, right? Make sure they are small. This is for the sleep right here. This is for this. thought I did the one for the heartbeats. Let me duplicate and let's quickly get that in. You arrange them and then just align to the top. Align to the top. Make sure this is small. Leave room because we're going to increase the size. So I can come here, make this bold, and we can increase the size to whatever you feel works best for you, and make sure it is styling with the color you have on here. Make sure it is styling with the color you have on there, and then we can use this our blue. Can you see? So we'll be doing the same for this, and I will just copy it and paste for you understand how it works. So let's just quickly take this out. I'll bring this in. No because of time. And I'll paste it here. It's always going down because I clicked on the cell down there. So you can see, sorry. So you can see it's going to look something like this, right? It's going to look something like this. You can go ahead and add your hours per day as a text. You can see it's just normal hours per day and the measurements in calories. And we have something, it's coming up real nice. It's coming up real nice. I'm gonna change that color real quick to the actual color, right? Next thing I'm going to do is to quickly insert some more icons, a lot of images here. So all we need here, we need the sleep notification. We need this, this, and this. We insert all 6 of them, right? We're going to insert all 6 of them, and I will show you what we use them for. So this goes into this, right? We can resize to make sure it fits perfectly fine. This goes here. Again, you can zoom in. Making sure it's perfect, right? You can zoom in, making sure it's perfect. I've been doing that because I already have a perfect one, but when you're doing yours, you should do that. For the heart rates, same thing. And for the shoe, same thing. These two, we will be keeping them too close to each other. Let's just move them to the top. Right, and this, I'll just shrink this in, and then we'll keep it here for now. We'll come back to that. So everything is looking nice. Everything is looking nice so far. So the next thing I'm going to do real quick, we're going to create a chart, right? We're going to create a chart for our steps. How do you do that? It's very simple. Very simple. All we're going to do is to get the remainder of what we have here, which is equal to this minus, or rather 10,000, which is our daily target, minus this, equal to, all right, 10,000 minus this. And this is what we have left. I'm just going to highlight this and I will insert into a recommended charts. Into a recommended chart. You can see what we're having here. So because of that, what do? I can just reference this here and highlight the both of them. And this time around, recommended charts, we're going to use a donut chart. We're using a donut chart right here. We're using a donut chart right here. You click on this, you turn off the line. We don't want this, and we don't want any line or fill. We want this to be transparent. And then for the big one, which you have to double click, we want to use this darker color. And for this, which I have to double click again. I want to use this, right? To have this our loading shape. But to give this a little bit of, you can increase or reduce the donut size, right? As a fill right here. And then there's something I'm going to do. I'm going to double click on this. I will turn on the line. I will change this line to that same color we have there. And then I can now increase this. Maybe increase this to 4. I increase this to 4. You can see this gives us like a nice feel. Okay. It gives us a nice feel to what we have here, like the loading stuff. I'm going to do this to cuts, pastes, cuts, pastes. You can see it's transparent, and then shrink. That's my problem with this thing. It's always acting up. Let me try to shrink this. Why am I not having that shrink option right there? Excel can be weird sometimes. So I can move, but I can't shrink. Let's just make sure this is brought to front, first of all. Alright, so now that's the issue. Then you can just drag resize, right? Resize. Put here, make sure, right? Just make sure it fits perfectly. And then just like we did before, you can just reference this. I can just reference this value here. And then you can format the painter. We're using black, of course, here. And we can shrink it down. Understand? To make it fit. Okay? To make it fit. Again, I've done this before, but this is how you basically do it. I'm just going to do something like this. Well, I'm just copy the one I did earlier and paste. Paste. Why am I copying only the value? Okay, I can't copy because okay. Okay, so we'll have this right here. Okay, we'll have this right here. So you can see it's looking real nice. Okay, it's looking good. What else do we need? So let's start populating our charts. By the way, this one here, we'll have to change this to black. We'll have to change this to the color we'll be using. We'll shrink it down. I'm going to insert this. We'll insert into this. I'm going to insert this into, we're going to use the combo charts, and then the calories bonds can be on the left hand side. And we can sort by either the minutes or by the calories bonds from the largest to smallest. Looking good, all right? And the third one we need right here is this. Third one we need right there is that. I'll be inserting you into something. Right, something. But this will be this, and it's going to be something like this for now. Okay? So I'll mark you, and you with cuts and with pastes. With cuts and with pastes. For this, We can duplicate. We'll bring this here, and then for the color, we can change that color to this blue. Change that color to the blue, and the color code, the size. I'm gonna get the size. The size will be 1.7. 1.7. All right. 1.7. 1.7. 1.7. Cool. I want to bring this to the front, by the way. To bring this to the front. So have this right here. I'll have this right here. And then all we need to do is to shrink this. That's all. Let's make it look good. Okay, the next thing we need, let's quickly format our chart. This goes on here. This goes on here. This goes on here. These are the three main charts we'll be using. All right, so chart number 1, we don't need that. You hide all field values. We'll hide all field values. And then we don't need this as well. We right click, format chart area, no line, no field. No line, no field. Then we'll take that out. All right, cool. So this right here will give us that. We'll need to make a couple of changes. First of all, we'll mark this down, and right here we'll change this to white. You can make them bold to make it stand out, or even increase it a little bit forward. We don't want any line. We don't want any fill. So I want to get rid of this bottom line there. And now the thing that will make this stand out is to create a shape. A shape that we'll be using for our visual. Okay, is to create a shape. I'll quickly insert a shape. Just run it, triangle there. All right. Just clean this up. No line, no fill. Okay, solid fill, and let's use that black there, right? Let's use that black, and you can make this as curvy as you want. So what happens? All you need to do is just copy, Ctrl+C, and then you paste this here. I can see that curvy fill right there. We'll do the same thing here for this. We'll be using this color. Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, right? Ctrl+V. And that is that. You can select the bars. You can increase or reduce the gap width, depending how you want yours to look, right? I'll make it a little bit thick. And the series overlap, let's take that to 0, right? Let's take that to 0. Let's take that to 0. We can shrink this down and just make sure it fits perfectly fine right there. Okay, make sure it fits perfectly fine right there. So for this one, the same thing we did earlier. We'll take this out. Okay, we'll take this out. Now for this combo charts, we can't get rid of any axis. So what I'll do is I'll click on this and I'll change the size of this to 1. If you take it out, it's going to fall flat. So take that to 1. And I'll click on this and also take this to 1. To 1 as well. Okay, to 1 as well. And then we'll extend this to the right hand side. Okay, we'll extend this to the right hand side. Extend this to the right hand side. And for this, we can use the graded finish. For this and for the second one, we can use that black, right? Remember, no line. For this, no line. For this. All right, and then we'll have to adjust the width for each. We'll have to adjust the width for each of them. Okay, so let's do that right now. All right, so we'll have to make this outer one a little bit transparent, right? A little bit transparent, and then the inner one, which is this, we can reduce the gap width. You get, so we'll have something like this going on here. Let's just turn back in the labels, not labels, the ribbons. Did I say ribbon? Legends, rather. So these legends, we need to bring them to the top. Okay, we need to bring them to the top and make sure this right here is finally make sure that there's no line of fill going on here. All right, so for this, just like we did before, no line, no fill. We want to hide every button. This, we'll change that to 1. This, we'll change this to 1. Change this to 1. And then we'll just pull this to the edge right there. We'll just put this to the edge right there. And we'll move, we get rid of this. Extend this to the ending. Never allow your to be slanted like this. But for that, we'll just pull this back by 1. So if we can make them bold and change this to white, maybe a lower shade of white right there. Cool. Now what else? So for this, we're going to use that white and we'll smoothen the line. And then for this, I can use this. You get, we'll change this to gradient. And then, just like I did before, I can just copy and paste. And just copy and paste. Make sure I don't have any line on the border. And we'll have something like this. We'll have something like this. Make sure that's white as well. You can increase or reduce the gap width as you wish. Right here. Let's see. So the gap width, if you reduce it, it becomes kind of wider. I think I like it a little bit of width on it. Right, a little bit of width on it. If it's too much, just adjust it to your desired tastes. Okay, so we'll have that right there. We'll have that right there. Let's pull this down a little bit. And perfect. Perfect. So yeah. So here, what we need is just a very simple. I'll just show you one, and I'll just copy because of time. Duplicate this. We'll bring this right here, and we'll call this month's summary. This month's summary. Okay. What happened there? Let's just do that again real quick. Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V. I'll highlight the whole thing. I'll call this month's summary, this month's summary. Oh, we'll change this to black. Change this to black. Now, again, this is down to personal choice. If you want to make it as separated as mine, all you need to do is to highlight that. Come here to this button, go to spacing, and you can change this to expanded, and you can make it 10. Or whatever color you want. And you have something like this, and you adjust it to your need, okay? Then we'll go to the next line, all right? You go to the next line, and we'll write, so what's the first one? Total workouts. Total workouts. This right here, okay? Total workouts. We don't want this to be like that, so we'll have to change it back to normal. Okay, and you can make this bold or format it however you like. So you do your total workouts, your total calories, and so on and so forth, and you space it out nicely. Again, I'll just copy and paste because of time. All right, so if thought to be here for some hours, I'll just copy and paste. Okay, remember all of this right here. All of this will. Okay, what just happened? Let me recopy that again. Ctrl C, Ctrl V. All right, so you can see it. Exactly what I did here. Okay, exactly what I did. Just input your texts and so on and so forth. Okay, and so on and so forth. And then you can pick any of these shapes here. Right, you can pick any of those shapes here. And then you align them. Let me get the dimension of that. Let me get the actual dimension of it. I think I used 0.4. So something like this for the height will be 0.4. And then for the width will be 0.03. Just to make it as tiny as possible. 0.03. Okay, you can see there. Then you just drag and you align them manually, properly for each and every one, including, and just give them different colors. Colors that will actually make sense together with all the colors we've been using. So I will just copy that real quick and I'll paste them here. So that you can see Ctrl Z. Ctrl Z. Why can't I just pick distance? Make it perfect. Or just pick them. Oh yeah, you're going to have to do them one by one, by the way. And it can take a bit of time. To make sure everything fits perfectly. I'll just quickly adjust it right there. Let's see. You can see, right? It's looking good. It's not as clean. On your own end, you do the same thing as well. And then finally, we'll have to reference. So I can pick any of this. We'll need this to reference. You already get the gist. We need this to reference. So for the total workouts, I'll come here and I will reference. You can see what we'll have all of them here. So for the total workout, all of these are for the month. So for the total workouts for this month, can you see that? Just come here and I'll reference this. Right, I'll reference that. For the total calories burnt, I will go there, reference the same thing. I'll reference all of them, just like I did. So again, I'll just copy and paste because of time. Because of time, we're already nearing the 2-hour mark. So you can see each and every one here was copied You can see each individual value right there. This is why it's taking so much time, because we are doing a lot of manual copying and pasting. And then finally, for the goal completion, just like we did here as well, is to copy. You copy and you reference. Okay, and this time around, we'll be referencing the last one that we did here. No, okay, I don't think I've done that. We're going to quickly do that, right? We're going to quickly do that. So in order for us to do this, let me look for the code I used so we can create our house. Okay, 1 second, please. So looking at this, our goal completion, right? It's just to change this to percentage. That's 805. And then using the same rept function, that we've been using, I'll just reference, what am I referencing here? I'll be referencing this cell. Okay, I'll be referencing this cell. This is the code, by the way, so you can just copy and paste. So you can see right there, we have our code right there. And all we need to do is just to duplicate this and reference it underneath. Remember that you have to reference all of these things so that they will be affected by our slicers. I will just copy and paste because I've done them before, but remember to reference. So we'll have something like this. Okay, we'll have something like this right here. And consider we're almost done with our our dashboard. We are 99% done. So what next? The final reference. And you can see here, I typed out the current weights and the expected weights. It's just to reference using the equal to sign. To reference, I think I wrote them right there at the beginning. Look at them, current and expected. Again, I will just copy, but you end, reference them. I've showed you guys how to reference. Just drag and we'll just put them here nicely. Okay, put them here nicely. All right. So I think we're done. Then just attach your titles, your chat titles there as well, and give them some good names. I'll show you the ones I used. The final thing we'll do here is we need to create a couple of items. It's just shape, text, and right? Just like we'll be creating shapes, you just do the same thing there. Okay, we'll have a text that shows my profile. We'll have a shape here that is used, and then another shape with a different shade beside it. And those two icons we used there. Okay, that's it. That's it. Everything is looking good. All right, we don't need this anymore. I'm going to quickly import our. I'm going to quickly pick up a circle. So let me just move this to the side. I will need this. Okay, duplicate, Ctrl+C+V. And then you can increase it a bit, maybe 0.8, 0.8, 0.8, 0.8, that's too big, 0.7, 0.7, 0.7. All right. It's just to keep it here. And we'll say send backwards. Send backwards. If that doesn't work, come here and you bring to front. bring to front, bring to front, not send to back, send backwards, bring to front, because I want this to perfect. I want this to have like an overlay right here. And then I'm going to make sure it's aligned properly. I will insert two other pictures. We'll have our settings. I think we already have that. So we need, the application is also there. Oh, okay, so you just get the icons. I already have them, right? I already have them. You can download these other ones. Control C, Control V. All right, so I'll bring this right here. And then we'll have our icons here. And then finally, then just add this here for good measure. We'll add this here for good measure. Okay, and just like that, our dashboard is looking good. So the last thing we'll be doing here, before I show you guys how to map everything together, the last thing we'll be doing here, we will be, so I'll come back here and I will click on any one here. I'll go to pivot table analyze and I'll say timeline. What I want to use? I want to use the date timeline. So we'll have something like this. I'll cut it. I'll cut it and I'll paste it right here. Paste everything. Enable. Enable. Okay. So this will make us have our slicer that we'll be using to manage the whole thing right here. Okay. So make sure you go to your report connection and connect everything, right? And connect everything. But we'll be leaving at one. We'll be leaving at one. We don't want this to affect our this right here. So I'll quickly get the name. Let's click on it, go to pivot table analyze, and you'll see the score pivot table 21. I'll come here and in the report connection, I want check 21. Okay, I want check 21. And then I'll come to timeline, right click, duplicates. So in the duplication, for the whole timeline formats, I don't want any color, no fill. I don't want any border. For the fonts, you can use white. For the header, no fill. Don't want any border. For the font, again, still white. Selection label, we can use that same white. Time level, the color. I don't even know what this is. Let's change it to that color. Let's see what it looks like, first of all. We'll click OK. And then okay. We'll modify that. So for the selected time block, we want to use our color. Right there. I don't know if that's it, but you pick up the color. Okay, and for the unselected time block, we don't want any color. We'll click OK, and then we'll click OK. And then we'll select this as our new slicer. Okay. So the next thing I'll do here is I'll go to tank size and properties. Here, we don't want any scroll bar. We don't want this, the time level. We don't want this as well. We don't even want the header. We don't even want the header right there. We just increase or adjust this properly and then align here. Okay, that's all fine and well. Let's take this to 100%, and this is what our dashboard is looking like. Looking really, really amazing. You will give this the proper titles, by the way. So I'll be switching to the other copy I built just before I start recording. So that will show you the titles. You will just input here. You input them here and use the right colors so that I can show you guys one last trick. Then we'll wrap it up. It's been a very long session already. Okay. All right. So looking at this, it's considers the same thing. Okay. The final thing we need to do here, right? The final thing we need to do here is to map all of these buttons. They're very simple. Okay. All you need to do is to come here, you right click, you go to, you won't see, if I remove connection, right? If I right click here to tell me to link, what am I going to link that to? I'll say page in documents, and I'll link this to our dashboard page. I will come here, I will do the same thing, link, page in documents. It's going to be this time around analysis. You do the same thing for this as well. So that when you click here to take you to the analysis, and when you click here to take you to your data sets, then finally at the end of this, you can insert a blank, right? You can insert a blank text box over here, right? Make sure there is no line or fill. Okay, it's going to be invisible. Then what next? All you need to do is to right click and your link. This time around, you can say existing file or web page. Then you go to your existing file or web page. Then you can go to, you can just impute a website right here. I'm just use this as an example. This is a link, a random link. You can put your LinkedIn, your portfolio here, wherever it is. Just put it there. So when they come here and they click on this, it will take them straight to that website. And you see, can take them straight to that website. And pretty much that is the dashboard here in action. It looks really good, and it took a while to complete. The final thing I would do, I don't want to make this go any longer, but I would recommend you do, is to make your dashboard faster, even faster. All you need to do is to get a picture of this wireframe. What do? You simply just duplicate your data and you get rid of every movable, anything that moves responds to the slider, you get rid of it. You take a screenshot and then you get rid of all of the shapes and use it as the background. But that's something we'll be covering in another video. The next dashboard, I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so because of time, I will have to wrap it up here. So I believe you guys learned something today. And please recreate this dashboard and put your spin on it as well. Put your spin on it as well. Push to your social media. Tag me. My links to my socials will be in the description. And just like that, we have our own personal fitness tracker dashboard built entirely in Excel. So thank you guys very much. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. GG's.